Flooding seems to have become a part of life for many of our fellow citizens in various areas of Metro Manila and nearby provinces. Despite the country having spent trillions on numerous flood management projects, Filipinos still suffer this seemingly endless flooding problem, as pointed out by several senators during a hearing after the devastation caused by Typhoon Carina. This raises the question on many people's minds: is there still hope that Metro Manila's flooding problem will ever be solved? With this pressing issue, I will be speaking with Mr. Felino June A. Palafox Jr., a renowned Filipino urban planner and architect. In this B-side episode, Mr. Palafox will explain the primary factors behind Metro Manila's flooding problem. He will also tackle his recommendations for solving the perpetual flooding problem in Metro Manila. Hello, Mr. Palafox. It's my pleasure to talk to you today. For my first question, what do you think is the reason behind what some describe as Metro Manila's eternal flooding problem, despite the government's trillion-peso investment in the country's flood control projects over the past decade?
Laguna Lake is like a toilet without a flush because they implemented the Mangaan floodway, diverting waters from Marikina, from the mountains towards Laguna Lake to protect Metro Manila. But they did not do the Parañaque Spillway. That's why I said Laguna Lake is like a toilet without a flush, or it's like a big bathtub with 23 faucets without a drain. I think about 22 rivers plus the Mangaan floodway goes to Laguna Lake. And if I remember it right, maybe not the exact numbers, more than 4,000, I think 4,600 cubic meters per second flowed down from the mountains towards Metro Manila. And especially Marikina Valley and Laguna Lake, 4,600 cubic meters or something. The capacity of Pasig River was only 600 cubic meters per second. Thanks to San Miguel, they spent 2 billion pesos to dredge Pasig River, no taxpayers' money, and Tulihan River. And by the way, 7 of the top 10 worst polluting rivers in the world are Philippine rivers, including Pasig River, number 1, worst polluting, Tulihan River, number 4, which San Miguel Corporation also spent 1 billion pesos. So 4,600 cubic meters per second flew down towards Greater Metro Manila, if you could call that. And then Pasig River then had only 600 cubic meters per second. Maybe it's bigger now because of dredging by San Miguel. 600 cubic meters per second. Where did the almost 4,000 cubic meters per second went? It flooded 80,000 hectares of urban land, Metro Manila, Marikina Valley, and around Laguna Lake. You know what's 80,000 hectares of urban land? Larger than Singapore. Singapore is only 72,000 hectares. In fact, Singapore, you can put it inside Laguna Lake. So that's the gravity of it all. And then we look at the big floods in the 70s, it was put on record and overlay it against the Ondoy flooding. It's almost the same or even worse in Ondoy. Maybe Carina, Super Typhoon Carina, it happened, when was that? July 25 or something? Probably worse than Ondoy because they did not follow our recommendation in the mid-70s and in 2009. The plastic problem became worse after there was a law prohibiting incinerators. So they get down to our rivers. You know, plastic waste in our country decompose 600 years. In Singapore, within 24 hours, because they have their waste to energy technology, and the byproduct of that is energy, power, electric power, and building materials for their sidewalks and reclamation. Singapore used to be 65,000 hectares. Due to good reclamation, I must emphasize, They are now 72 hectares. And maybe your next question is people blaming the reclamation. Even before the reclamation, we had worse flooding already. And almost all west of Taft Avenue are reclamation, including the U.S. Embassy, part of Luneta, it used to be called Burnham Green, after Daniel Burnham, and everything, because buildings we have designed west of Taft Avenue, itself they were reclaimed. So the foundation cost is very high.
User pointed out the issue of solid waste management as one of the reasons behind Metro Manila's recurrent flooding. Based on your experience, what is your recommendation for resolving the country's solid waste problem?
I admire yung mga recycling. And if I remember it right, in Singapore, only I think 30% is collected through recycling. 70% goes to the waste to energy. But here we have a obsolete law, unpractical law, no incineration. Dapat ginawa doon, huwag pakialaman yung technology, i-monitor na lang yung exhaust, kung polluting yung exhaust. Marami ng technology na napokontrol yung exhaust. Kinumpare ko nga that no incineration is just like interfering in your home. You use only broom, not vacuum cleaner. That's how stupid. I cannot avoid calling it stupid. But you may want to fact check also. Singapore supposedly have 500 laws, rules and regulations. Philippines, 22,000 and increasing every week. 22,000 and more than 1,000 are stupid laws. So it also contributes. So, waste to energy, it will reduce plastic waste at least. Yung recycling, I think maybe in the Philippines they collect only 10%. The 90% goes to the rivers and waterways. Yeah, that's my guesstimate. Only 10% to recycling. 90% goes to the waterways.
I also want to point out the issue of urban congestion. Do you think this could be a contributing factor to Metro Manila's flooding problem?
In the mid-70s also, we proposed creating regional development. And now one of my advocacies is we need 100 new cities by 2050. If we don't do that, in Metro Manila, existing cities outside Metro Manila will even become as bad, if not worse, than Metro Manila. 100 new cities. We'll have around 150 million Filipinos by 2050, between 140 million to 260 million. 160, so average 150 million. So we'll need 100 new cities. New cities, Otherwise, we'll have, again, in the other cities now, it's happening already in Cebu, congestion. So it's more of population distribution than population growth. It can be addressed. Just like we're able to help Mumbai and they listen. We've been helping Metro Manila, problem Metro Manila, 17 political wills. We plan Metro Davao, Urban Master Plan, 8 LGUs, 1 political will, Metro Davao. And we bring Metro Davao into the first world by 2040. They're following our plans, including burying the wires, the visual obtrusive electric wires. Mayor Sara instructed Aboitiz Power to bury their electric lines. That's political will. Iloilo, the same, with Jerry Treñas. They buried the electrical, visually obtrusive electrical wire. That's political will. 1977, akong nag-set up sa Dubai, no overhead wires under the sidewalks lahat. They followed my recommendation. I was only 27 years old.
How about the Metro Manila's location? Some experts said that the capital's landscape acts as a large flood basin. May I know your thoughts on this?
Our flood control drainage system undersized by 75%. If you look at the topography of Metro Manila, maybe along Manila Bay, maybe 0 meters or 1 meters above above sea level. Then as you go inland, I think, how many? 17 or 20 kilometers towards Loyola Heights, Ayala Heights, about 30, maybe 35 meters high or 30 meters high above sea level. It drops to the floor of Marikina Valley and Laguna Lake, I think about 6 kilometers wide. Then it goes high again into Antipolo, Sierra Madre Mountains. So you don't have to be a genius to analyze it. There's a big basin, Marikina Valley and Laguna Lake shores. And then along Manila Bay are low-lying areas. And they receive the runoff water from uplands, from the mountains, the ridge of the mountain, the highlands, midlands, lowlands, and so on. Like west of these low-lying areas, have been concreted. So bigger runoff going to them. When we were planning Dubai, I was invited and named hard where I was working on World Bank funded Metro Plan by Dubai, the rulers of Dubai. And I said, December 1976, I said, I have a contract with the Philippine government, 4 more months. They waited 4 months. I arrived in Dubai, and the rulers told us, bring the desert town of Dubai into the first world in 15 years. Create a garden city out of the desert. Then study the competition, how many years Dubai would surpass them, and the best practices in the world, how many years Dubai would surpass them. But in our development planning here, baby steps, better than last year, and electoral calendars, 3 years and 6 years. Pagdating ng next administration, hindi lang itutuloy, i-cancel out pa yung proposal. That's happened in the past 50 years. Every year, they change or they cancel out completely. There's no institutional memory, there's no continuity. We lack leaders with strong political will, with visionary leadership, with vision, good appreciation of good urban planning, good design like architecture and engineering, and excellent management or good governance. You know, if we taxpayers, citizens, if the government is like a corporation, we taxpayers, citizens, residents, including foreigners paying taxes, we are the investors, we are the stakeholders. So what's our ROI, return on investments, for infrastructure, etc.? That's our ROI. Return on investments for infrastructure. I will not talk about the corruption and so on. I think it's very much talked about already and everybody knows it.
Given the challenges you've mentioned that hinder Metro Manila's flawed resilience, what are your proposed short-term and long-term solutions to address this?
The short-term is what I said there, the first 100 days. Let's start doing the master plan. Start it. Or Palafox, we can give a vision plan if we cannot call it master plan. Which we did in September 2009. May time frame pa. And then we superimposed the flooded areas of 1970 and the flooded areas 2009 of Doy. Halos pareho. Oh. Maybe now, together with you guys, let's do a flood map of Carina. So we superimpose 1970, 2009, and 2024. Maybe instead of improving, we are deteriorating. Maybe our leaders are getting worse. We're better leaders before. Our lessons from flooding recommendation included Region 3 Central Luzon, NCR Metro Manila, and Calabarzon. 2009 recommendations namin. Then, immediate action, 100 days. Short term, 2010. Medium term, 2016. Long term, 2020. We're already 2024. It was a do-nothing scenario, so we still have catastrophic flooding with the do-nothing scenario. And then also adaptive architecture. That Monday after that Saturday, we have an internal architectural design engineering competition at Palafox. And we came out with flood-proofing our homes, residences, guidelines for flood-safe homes, conceptually. And in one day, we did not do our project. We did adaptive architecture for our homes. Then we talk about green roofs, house on stilts, floating houses. If your ground floor gets flooded, you separate your electrical system because maybe government will not be able to address flooding. At that time, one of our staffers was a Dutch architect from the Netherlands. And he said, if this happened in the Netherlands, you relocate cities and communities. But I said, in our country, real estate properties ownership is sacrosanct. So I said, relocate or elevate. Elevate the city, elevate your house, put it on stilts. Because I don't think government will be able to do that. And even the whole city you can elevate. Until 2009, I was not in favor of skyways and skywalks, elevated highways, skywalks, until 2009.
The Department of Public Works and Highways is considering replicating the Bonifacio Global City's large cistern or underground water impounding structure in some densely populated areas to alleviate the flooding problem. Do you have similar proposals or projects like this?
And there are more buildings now. Imagine like Fort Bonifacio. It used to be grass and it was Fort McKinley and Fort Bonifacio. Now there are more concrete instead of grass. But good for them, they put the rainwater harvesting underneath Burgos Circle. And responsible for that was former Secretary Babe Singson when he was still working with the Fort Bonifacio project. And he tried to do that when he was Public Works Secretary, including underneath the football field of UST. But he was not allowed to do it. And I was told, if you have a chance to interview him, our environmental lawyer, Tony Oposa, he was the one who sued all LGUs dumping waste into Manila Bay, and he won the Supreme Court. He was telling me, you have to fact check this. They're supposed to be under Marcos Sr. FM. They were supposed to be presidential decree or a law. Every barangay must have a rainwater harvesting. And the way we plan at Palafox is from ridge to reef. From the top of the mountain, the highlands, the midlands, the lowlands, and the coastline. Very comprehensive. Like maybe, before water comes down, smaller sized dams to collect the water and maybe release them slowly when the floods are gone. Or conserve them to irrigate tree planting in the mountains, bamboo planting, and so on. Then some more progressive countries, and we do that in our architectural designs. Aside from solar roof, rainwater harvesting from the roof, and within the property, and the roads, transport corridor. The best practices we've been implementing in our projects, architectural projects. And we've been proposing even in the New Manila International Airport, AeroCity, Aerotropolis in Bulacan, like a green building code, green architecture, green building guidelines, over and above our building code. Like there are rainwater harvesting even within the roadways, not just a landscape feature, but rainwater harvesting. We have many proposals on that, like theoretically or somewhere else, like ala Tokyo. Let's say underneath circumferential road, like C4, EDSA, you put a big cistern, rainwater harvesting, collect the water before they flow down, maybe along circumferential road number 6, number 5, C5, C4 is EDSA, circumferential road number 2, and I think that's Araneta Avenue, and so on. Binabaha rin banda dun Quezon City. And then C1, circumferential road number 1, I think that's Quezon Quiapo Boulevard, and the roads along Rizal Park towards Tondo. So we can have a 6 series of rainwater harvesting in the circumferential road. And maybe the 10 region roads, we can put big drainage systems.
You have been trying to work with the government for a long time, and with the persistent flooding problem in Metro Manila, do you still have hope that this will ever be resolved?
You ask the government. You ask the president. Because I think he's trying his best, but maybe his best is not good enough. Maybe he should have less travel abroad and now focus on the domestic problems. Because I was in the investment summit in Abu Dhabi, 12,000 delegates from 79 countries. And I had to go because the Philippines, our Philippine president did not go. And I'm told he was the only president from Asia that was invited. I had to go. And what I gathered there was permits. Average time to get permits, obtain permits, 30 minutes all over the world. Like Dubai, 55 permits through the internet. They save in traffic, going back and forth to City Hall. Blueprints, destroying trees for the blueprints. Save on coffee and tea, because when you apply for the permit, they offer you coffee and tea. Prevented corruption and red tape. It can be done here. I don't know why it's not being done.
Thank you very much for all the insightful answers to my questions. Lastly, Mr. Palafox, what is now your vision for the Philippines?
2040 first world country, 2050 first world economy. Without corruption, we should be in the top 20 economies of the world. It can be done. In the 1930s until the mid-70s, we were number 2 after Japan. 1946, we were number 1 in Asia. It's no wonder all Asian countries voted Manila, Metro Manila, for the location of the Asian Development Bank, because they thought Metro Manila and the Philippines had the highest development potential as a financial sector. I think it should really be a public-private partnership now, and private sector, the media, the academia, professionals who really care for this, our country, should get together now, addressing these challenges, issues, and problems. At the same time, you join us, Philippines 2050, a first world country, a first world economy. My generation of leaders may have failed, or we have failed to persuade our leaders, but the young ones, millennials, Gen X, Gen Y, they like when I present this Philippines 2050, hoping they will not migrate anymore. Our country is the most blessed. We're most blessed. That's why I never changed my passport. Unfortunately, we were blessed also with bad politicians and corrupt bureaucrats.
Mr. Palafox pointed out that Metro Manila's flooding problem has been driven by multiple factors, including the lack of a unified flood master plan, poor solid waste management, urban congestion, and the government's lack of political will. Even though his recommendations for flood management have not been fully implemented since the 1970s, Mr. Palafox remains hopeful that the government will listen, as he believes that these projects will save lives and save taxpayers' money. This has been another episode of B-Side. Again, this is Edg Eva. Subscribe now and enjoy industry insights on Philippine business and beyond.